Angel Engine is what happens when you give a 12-year-old some bullet points about cool biblical events, only to task them with making a Bible too. It's dragged out, messy, and convoluted. That's the short answer as to why Angel Engine is on the first level. Some might think I'm being too harsh on it, but genuinely, as of now, I don't see any redeeming qualities. But by all means, it had many. The atmosphere was rich, the designs were crisp, and the plot was streamlined. But as the series went on, it started to lose all of its charm. Atmosphere? Pfft, by the 9th episode, you get to experience the same cryptic music and cryptic dialogue at least 15 times. The formula became cringe and abused really fast. Designs? The moment the series introduced more than 4 characters to track, it became more and more taxing to recognize in each and every single one. Cause the series uses AI for basically everything. AI which is not stable at all for design consistency. There was a time when the creator tried to use man-made art, but it took so long that he defaulted on 1 AI video per every man-made one, which made things even more nonsensical. The style was all over the place, and to an extent, this could have been forgiven a little and enjoyed as a slop, but even then, the series is super dragged out. It feels as though it should have ended 15 episodes ago, when the world itself ended. It would have at least finished the series on a good message of just how corruptible mankind is. But no. Instead, we get to experience Angel Engine Evangelion Rebirth V2+5, where just like in the first series, we got hit over the head with the same 4 plot points and sentences and visuals every episode for months on end. Telepurte back in the day used to be an inspiration. His Gunnar stuff aside, I genuinely enjoyed his animations. They were so fluid, full of life, dedication, and passion. It was visible in every frame. The art style felt like I could chomp into it, and it almost made me want to become an animator. The reason I have Telepurte on the list is because of his crazy animation streaks, and specifically his miniseries called The Trip. It is genuinely an amazing series of scenarios, where Telepurte utilizes different animation techniques to convey different scenarios, physics, spaces, interactions, so forth and so forth. It's frankly brilliant, but there is a reason why I don't have him higher on the list. Telepurte, for some profound reason, decided to go on Twitter and start shaming people who looked at his characters as Gunnable? Gunnar content? It's genuinely baffling because he would attach these quote-unquote humanizing sentences about, oh, I'm my own person, respect me, and this and that, whilst in the same breath he'll shill his Patreon which has the same character partaking in corn. Like, what? You can't just say your art helps people only to feed into their sex appeal with foot fetish content or with Patreon coin. What the fuck are you talking about? How did this even happen? How do you demand people to look at a picture of a character that is not real and ask for her to be looked at as a human only to then draw her as anything but human? What? Some speculate that he got a girlfriend that looks exactly like one of his OCs, who also does OnlyFans, and apparently that started to steer his mind, but genuinely no one knows. I tried to research this more, and basically everything is completely wiped from the web. From my perspective, this dude is just huffing on his own farts, abandoning animation work on YouTube, and defaulting on what makes him the most amount of money, which is corn. Say whatever you want about Hazbin Hotel or Helva Boss, but I think we can all agree that this series overall helped the animation community greatly. It not only established a precedent for indie work becoming successful for massive streaming platforms, but it also opened the gates for a larger audience to indulge in this space. The production value for Helva Boss, the frequency of releases, and consistent animation quality for YouTube standards is nothing short of exceptional, and for that alone, this series deserves to be on this list. But with so many accomplishments under its belt, why is it not on level 7? Simple, everything else sucks. Theater of the Unaligned is genuinely so much fun. It's a very humble animated series following a fantastical party who are escorting a small warlock creature thing on a bright yet seriously well-developed adventure that at first glance may seem comedy-centric, only to turn around and give you a gut-punching emotional revelation. It's a very nice series filled with plenty of fantasy tropes we love and adore, while simultaneously subverting just as many. For example, they find a dungeon and encounter a Minotaur boss fight, but he just turns out to be a big guy who has emotional issues and got teleported here randomly. And then they also find a Lich boss fight, who dies in one hit. Best of all though, the small creature thing that is mentally unstable is actually a 40-year-old man, and the skits involving this is actually the only thing that gives me joy in life anymore. One thing I really need to highlight with these types of series is that most stories tend to not really acknowledge what happens in previous events in a subtle manner, but here you really get to feel the impact small bits and jokes have. That Minotaur scene is played for laughs, sure, but later it gets referenced to convince another character to open up. It's the small stuff like this that really forms that vital connective tissue between episodes that I adore. It makes you confident that whatever you watch will have some meaning later on and will not be abandoned like some average anime skit, which is very nice to see. It's genuinely appreciated to watch a series actually respect your time, and a similar foreshadowing and small events occur well throughout this story. Dungeon Soup also deserves to be mentioned here, I think. It's a pretty simple series about a unstoppable, mortal yet very brutal barbarian who decimates basically everything in his path. It's a very fun watch and I'd recommend you to check it out, but there are some faults with these series, like obviously. Dungeon Soup gets old eventually. It's basically the same skit over and over again, and with Theater of the Unaligned, the voice acting tends to kinda lack at some points, robbing the series of some of those emotional impacts. But overall, still really good. Check them out right now. At this level, you get to see a lot of animation works that are bogged down, mainly due to them not going past the pilot as of now. Actually, scratch that, the ones I have mentioned here actually have more issues than that. Things like Cliffside and Studio Psycho's Heathens pops into mind, although, unlike Cliffside, Heathens has some crazy continuity issues that frankly perplex me. I have a hard time understanding how some of these issues made it past the script editing stage. The episode starts, character A asks character B why she got dragged all the way out here. Clearly she got impatient walking obliviously for a large period of time and, well, not knowing shit kinda got on her nerves. The dialogue is clearly made like this to excuse the series' conveyance of exposition, to set the stage and make you understand what the world is about, which is pretty clear enough. But then as the episode goes on, these same characters start behaving in ways that made this whole situation seem as though it was premeditated and planned by everyone, even by characters we don't see for half the episode. Instead of this one dude dragging her along without explaining anything, it all of a sudden becomes a plan devised by 3 people to capture a hellhound. And I'm like, wait, didn't you literally just ask why you're here? Yet all of a sudden you start moving with a plan in mind that literally cannot work without it being premeditated? Where did this guy come from? Why was he not mentioned? What? How the fuck does this guy not know how to catch a hellhound when clearly he wants one and knows what it is? How does he possibly give these things Fent without knowing what it is? And clearly these things are dangerous, so someone must have had ill intentions for giving this stuff to him with no explanations, and he is stupid for not even knowing it, especially since his partner knows exactly what they are. So I'm just confused. How did this situation even occur? She is familiar enough with him to know how clumsy this goofball actually is. So to blindly just trust this situation seems so weird to me. It feels as though we're missing a few points of interest here, 5 minutes of content and establishing scenes was completely cut, and I'm left confused. As for Cliffside, it's pretty goofy, it's pretty strange, but overall nothing stood out to me like Heathens. Pretty well rounded, and for what it's worth, Cliffside's animation is spectacular and very unique in a space where everyone's style looks super polished. It's a shame it never got an episode 2. Flashgitz? I am not making that noise. Flashgitz, most famously known for their Megatron with tits, made a comedy series that does not look like shit. Who would have thought that to be possible, huh? The comedy is on point, the characterization is memorable to such an extent that some small scenes get characters super popular. Do you have any idea how many times I've seen "stay positive" in the Instagram comment section? Or hate mace? There really isn't that much to be said about this. We all know that this stuff is goated. Although I'll make one point. These guys made a 3-minute product chill, and this is funnier than most Western animations put together. This is absolute comedy gold. Watch it, it's so good. I took my sweet time making this video, and because of that, another amazing piece of animation dropped on YouTube. A 26-minute pilot episode of Ersatz? I think. The story follows a guy named Mophead, whose actual name is a very big spoiler that I will not mention. Mophead is a character that recently passed away, yet he is back on his feet. He's alive and kicking. But he's kicking in a front line of World War I. Well, kinda, as the series is heavily modeled after the French and the German front lines in World War I, as the story follows Mophead as he tries to navigate around this new reality of his, thinking that he actually did not volunteer to be in this war and was wrongfully convicted. But in reality, his past self willingly came here, and after his death, he lost all of his memories. The rest of the episode follows him discovering his name, his former friends, and what he actually looked like before dying. As in this world, characters don't actually die, but their resurrection comes at a heavy cost, whether that be amnesia, disfigurement, or sometimes even worse things. For a pilot, it does a lot of work for the world building, for characterization, and the setup for future plot points, so I cannot wait to actually see more of this. It is really interesting and unique. I especially appreciate the flesh punk World War I aesthetic the series has, mainly because everyone kinda rides on the German aesthetic of World War II, while simultaneously completely disregarding the superbly unique nature of World War I. The amazing digital circus. If you remove the stupid fanbase who encouraged the glitch to delay the next episode's release because they didn't want to part ways too fast with the show, and if you remove some of the stupid comments the creators said about episode 7, like how it was going to be a community splitting episode, then the show is a masterpiece. Every single episode, without exception, reveals something new. Every single episode approaches its dynamic differently, and every single episode pays off in a way that impacts the whole story. People have basically saturated the discussion about this series to no end, so I won't say anything that everyone has already said. Okay, that's kinda impossible, but I'll try my best. Like for example, episode 1. Stuff you see in episode 1 becomes so much more valuable as the series goes on. As a pilot episode, it unironically was the most plot-heavy, world-building focused episode in the whole series up until the newest one, and the stuff you see here gets built up more and more and more as the series goes on. But for some reason, it's not really mentioned that often. Only in recent episodes did Kane's exit door project get paid off, which was first shown in episode 1. Only now do we really get to see how much Kaufman and Ribbit meant to Jax, whereas in episode 1, we saw how visibly upset he was when Kane locked Kaufmo up. Why did no one mention this? He never looks this mad, ever. And lastly, only now are we exposing Kane's potential connection with abstractions, whilst it was set up all the way back in episode 1, whether that be with Kaufmo's room depicting Kane like this, or with Kane's overall attitude about him abstracting. He placed this dangerous act up for laughs. Mind you, Kaufmo's rampage literally hurt people, and Kane didn't move a finger, allowing the abstracted Kaufmo to be used as an adventure plot first, only to remove him when things calm down. He clearly has a playful, uncaring nature when it comes to this whole situation. He knows basically everything that is happening around him, especially in the circus. Yet for him to not do anything and then approach the situation like this clearly conveys that he has a different, inadequate, and wrongful approach to abstractions, and we see it here clearly. Similar foreshadowing and plot developments occur a lot in this show, in basically every single episode, and whilst I can milk this subject and keep going for another hour, I think everyone already mentioned why this story is good. Yeah, watch this, it's really good,